Saxon Algebra 1/2, Lesson 2. Welcome back, my amazing students. At this point, you should have already watched the video for Lesson 1, and you should have completed 2 sets of homework. First, you did the odd homework problems for Lesson 1, and you also did the even numbers on a second day. Let me say this, too. The homework has 2 components. Oh. And the names are so close together that it's confusing. They get interchangeable. There's the practice set. There's the practice problems, which are the current lesson. They recap what you just learned. And then there's the problem set, which is the recap of older lessons. Okay? We always do all of the practice problems. And then for the problem set, that's where we do odds and occasionally the evens. Mostly we're going to do the odds. But here at the beginning of the year, we're having kind of a special situation. So always do all of the practice problems. On these days when we're doing odds and then evens the next day, you can just do the practice once. You don't have to do it twice. But we always do the practice problems, and I want to be really clear on that. All right, so now we're going to do Lesson 2. This is your only lesson for today, and we're going to do the same thing where I'm going to have you get 2 days of homework out of it. We'll do first the odds and then the evens. It's another fairly long lesson, but it's got lots of review topics. It's not as long as the first one, so buckle in, but know that we're better than before. The number line. You guys, no doubt, have seen something like this before. This is the number line. This is the way we can imagine organizing numbers. I like to start with 0 in the middle. And as we move to the right, the numbers increase. And I'm going to add the whole numbers here, right? We said last time that the whole numbers are the counting numbers with 0 at the front. And we know that as we move in this direction, the numbers get greater, right? And we could keep on going to infinity, but I just stopped when I ran out of paper. And we call these... Oh, that was a really bad parenthesis thing. These are the positive numbers. Okay? Which implies when we go this way, oh, these are negative numbers, aren't they? Right? And we can go infinitely in that direction, and the numbers keep getting smaller or less than. So greater is when we move to the right, and less is when we move to the left. The minus sign, we can say -1 or we can say -1. -1 is the more appropriate, okay? We can also see a relationship between these numbers. We can see, for example, 2 and -2 are each 2 steps out from 0. We call those pairs of numbers opposites. Okay? Now, what's in these spaces in between? As you guys know, there's tiny fractions and decimals that we could write a huge number of in here, right? But right now we're just talking about the numbers at the tick marks, like this and this and this. These numbers are called integers because they include negative numbers as well. Okay? So the way we can, oh, that got messy really fast, didn't it? Integers, this is the way I like to write them. -2, -1. Okay, I'll give you a second to write that down. As I point out that the set of integers includes the natural or counting numbers, the whole numbers, and then the negative numbers as well. No fractions, no decimals. So integers are positive and negative, all right? All right, let's see how we're gonna use this in a problem. Use a number line to arrange these integers in order from least to greatest. So I'm just gonna copy them down in the order John's got them. Okay? John being John Saxon, the man who wrote the book, he wrote them down like this: 3, -4, 0, 1, 2. He wants us to put them in order from least to greatest, and we can use the number line to help us do that. You can use a number line in your head, or you can use a literal one written down. That's fine too. If you look in the book on page 7, there is a nice full number line, so you don't have to write it out every time. Okay, so we're looking through these for the number that is the least of these. We've got 2 negative numbers, and we remember that as the line moves this way, it's getting less. So this is the smallest value, right? Because we're trying to get these in order so they go from left to right. So this one comes first, then -2, then 0, then 1, then 3. Okay? So this is the right answer. That's all you have to do for this problem. And I'll tell you where students sometimes get confused. It's confusing because normally we think of 4 as being of greater value than 2, right? 4 is of greater value than 2. But when we put the negatives in front of them, the opposite is true, right? If you owe somebody $4, you are less well off than if you owe somebody $2. That's a way to contextualize that idea. But in negative numbers, the bigger the number, the smaller the value. I'm saying too many words. You know what I mean. Okay, that's example 21. 2.1, flipping. Arrange the following numbers in order from least to greatest. Okay, this time, John writes them all in one row. I'm running out of space. Okay, so we have to figure out these, and we don't have a number line big enough to fit these on. I'm not going to write it out to next week because it would be so long. These are commas. So we're just going to have to think. I see only one number that's negative. So we know that's the least. That's easy. Okay. Now, these guys are all positive, so we know that we use the regular rules that apply. So first we look at the largest digit, 400, 400, 5, and 6. Okay, so we know that these guys are going to come next. Once we discern that they're the next group, then we go to them. They have the matching 400s, so then we go to the tens place to compare. Okay, 6 is greater than 5, so we do 456 next because that's smaller. Then 465, right? So we look to the first digit, then the second digit. Okay, now we can go back to the first digit and get our 564 and then our 654. And that's the right answer. These are kind of fun. They're pretty easy. And I think by now you probably have the rules down. I hope you've seen these before. All right, now we're going to talk about rounding whole numbers. And this is the only other topic for this lesson. So we're just going to dive in. I'll work this one first. Okay, we've got the number 24,374. Now, before we round a number, we have to know what place we're rounding it to. And this instruction tells us to round to the nearest 1,000. Okay, so John has to give us the instruction. Otherwise, we don't know where to round it. We can round it any place. So when we see the instruction, what we do, the first thing we do is we go to the number and we circle the digit in the place that we're trying to round to. So thousands place has a 4 in it. Okay? So that's the first thing we do is we circle digit in the given space. Okay? By given, I mean in the instructions, right? This told us to round to the nearest thousand. Then we draw an arrow. To the digit at the right. Okay? That's what I did right there. I'm going to pause and let you catch up. Now, we have a rule that we use to apply to this one, to the digit at the arrow. If that digit is 0 through 4, we stay. We keep this number the same. If this digit is 5 through 9, we go up. All right? So this digit tells us how to round this number. Okay, so this is 3, so this tells us to stay. So we round this number to 20, we leave it at 24, and then everything else clicks to 0. So that's our rounded number. Okay? Let's take the same number. I want to make it clear that this is a different example. And this time we're going to round to the nearest 100. Okay, so we're going to follow these. I want to put a number there. I want to follow these same steps. So we're rounding to the nearest 100. So the first thing I do is I circle the digit in the given spot. Then I draw an arrow to the digit at the right. Okay? If this digit is 0 through 4, I stay. If it's 5 through 9, I go up. So this tells me to go up. So I write it as 24,000. That stays the same. But this digit is the one that's either going to stay or go up. And it goes up. And then we fill in with zeros. Okay? So depending on where we're told to round, that changes what our answer looks like. All right, a couple more examples and we're done. Bum, 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 bum. Example 2.3, round. Okay, it's a big number. Okay. 471,326,502. We're supposed to round to the nearest 10,000. I'm going to write it as a number rather than a word because I don't want to write 10,000. That's too much. So those are our instructions. So we go to the 10,000ths place, which is here. We circle that. We draw the arrow to the right. This is going to tell us whether to stay or go up. The rule is 0 to 4 is stay. 5 through 9 is go up. This is a 6, so it tells us to go up. And our number changes. Remember, all this stays the same. But here is where it changes. Okay? The number with the arrow is going to go away. We just use that to tell us what to do with the number with the circle. All right, so that is our first example. And now example 2.4, last one. It's a long number. 83 billion. 752,914,000 625. And we're supposed to round it to the nearest 10 million. Okay, 10 million, and then there's the 1,000 comma. All right, so let's find that place. We need to count up 1 block, 2 blocks, and then the middle of the 3rd block. Okay, so we're gonna round that number. It's either gonna stay a 5 or go up to a 6. This number tells us what to do. Here's our guidelines. It's a 2, so that tells us that we're gonna stay. So our final number is 83,750, and then all of this changes to zeros. Yay. All right, those are our examples. Let me show you the practice problems. Use a number to arrange these numbers in order. Well, that's what we did in the first example, right, where they were relatively small. We did the negatives first, then we did the positives. Arrange the following numbers in order from least to greatest. Okay, we did this too, where we got rid of, we did the negative first, and then we looked at the number in the hundreds place, and then we looked at the tens place to break any ties. And then here we're doing the rounding just like we did. So these look just like the examples that we worked through. So, to do a quick recap on your homework, just to make sure this is clear. For this week, this is what your homework looks like. Right? You did lesson 1. First you did the odds, then you did the evens. Then you did now you're doing lesson 2, and you'll do the odds and the evens. So that will be 4 homework sessions for this first week. And let me just write this. You should do the practice at the beginning. So on these days, you won't have any practice to do, all right? This is how this week will work, and next week will be the same, and then we'll pick up the pace, all right? So hopefully you've got these 2 done, and you're ready to do these 2 lessons in the remainder of the week. Fabulous. All right, I will see you next time. Good luck. Reach out to me if you have any questions or concerns. Thanks, guys.